Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of WikiTree LiveCast. Today we're going to be featuring Eowyn Langholf, who is the leader of the Adoption Angels Project. We're also going to be listening a bit to hopefully some of Emma Macbeth's featuring input, so that we can get her input as well. We've been in this chat for about 45 minutes to 50 minutes, Eowyn and Emma and I, and we've been talking and discussing and just generally hanging out, waiting for this to start. Eowyn did a quick run through of her slides, and at 2:59, I said, okay, we have about a minute to start, and poof, she was gone. And we're waiting for her to come back. So
maybe she's a figment of our imaginations, Max.
You know what? She has had so many issues with the bug that has attacked her since the end of December that it's not letting her back in. So let me see if I can get her back in. She's been so having issues that I'm afraid that the bug has decided that she's not allowed to be here. All right, so let me give her another shot at this. See what happens. So how is your genealogical day going? Mine's going very well. I have access to the holy grail of my family's genealogy, not just my family, but another family. Somebody sent me information that was done by a researcher who was out in Kansas. And he's a respected researcher. He's even mentioned in Dr. Charles Galden's book. And the information is in such a big mess that it's incredibly hard to read. And it's hard to figure out where connections lie. So it's 60,825 words, and I am slowly but surely trying to work my way through it to put all the lists in place. It's not put together in a genealogical way. So if anybody has any hints or clues or tricks for me on working with a Word document that is completely gibberish, I've been doing some find and replace stuff, and I've been able to get rid of a bunch of junk, but it is still not perfect, and it's still hard to read. So you got any information on Word? Anybody in the chat want to give me a hand?
No, Charlotte says she's working on a master database for the Dias surname.
Oh yeah,
and I've been watching her work on it, and it's been quite a big.
So what is task. What program? What language is she using?
I think she's doing it in Roots Magic. Charlotte, is that right?
I am at. Emma, do you want to go ahead and talk to us a bit about the Adoption Angel Project? I know there's been some changes that have gone on in just recently while I try and figure out how to get Eowyn back in here.
I don't know where to start because I don't know what Eowyn wanted to talk about.
Talk about just your perspective of the changes. You're very active in the Adoption Angels Project. What are some of the changes that have come about just recently in the changes you've got? You guys have done some big changes in in the project pages themselves. Maybe you could talk to us a bit about that.
Well, and one of the exciting thing is we just tripled the number of adoption angels that we have in the project, which means that adoptees who are waiting will not have to wait so long. And before we didn't have a set process on how we adoptees can apply for help, but we didn't really have a set process of how that help was given. And so that's one of the things we've worked on, is having a process of making sure the adoptees are ready, how to get them matched with an adoptee, how to track who's been helped and who hasn't been helped. That's been a big part of the changes we've made. And the exciting thing is I got my angel wings this week.
Good. How did that happen?
So I solved a case several months ago. it was one of those cases that I solved very quickly, but we didn't have the DNA that we needed to confirm it solidly. And that came in this week, a very, very close match, who was able to talk to the adoptee and confirm everything. That looks like your golden work, Grandma.
No way. Oh, it does. I've got the wrong screen up.
And so through that confirmation, I was able to get my angel wings, which adoption angels will get when they solve their first case. So it was a very exciting moment for me this week. Not just because I got my wings, but because she got her family.
That's good.
Did you find the? Oh, you're showing us the Adoption Angel project.
I am. And I tell you what, this is just so interesting. So this is the Adoption Angels project page, and it would be great if maybe we just walk through it a bit until Eowyn gets here. She did have a presentation ready to go, so we'll see what happens. You want to walk us through this a bit, Madame?
So the first question is, what is an adoption angel? And that's another change we made. Originally, adoption angels were just one thing. We've split it into two separate sections of adoption angels. One is called a mentor, and one is called a family finder. And the mentors are there to help answer questions about DNA, about how to set up their profile, how to work on WikiTree, maybe simple questions about finding non-identifying information as an adoptee, but they don't do the actual search for the family. And that's what the family finders do. So that's what an adoption angel does. Sometimes we answer all sorts of questions, because often people will come to us not just looking for their own birth family, but maybe their parents were adopted. And so they're looking for their grandparents that they have tried to locate and have no knowledge of.
So I know that you guys have revamped the project a bit here just recently.
Mm-hmm.
Let's how does one become an adoption angel?
They sign up on G2G, but they have to have been with WikiTree. Does it say how long? I think there's a time period. Imagine it's at least a month, and they go to the G2G post and say, I want to be an adoption angel. And they'll get the badge. And then one of the things we're also working on is doing kind of a buddy mentoring system to help the new adoption angels learn the ropes, so that they can better help the adoptees once they come into the project.
Well, and that's cool. Have you had a lot of people asked to join in recent times, or is it pretty much the adoption angels is pretty much a constant with people adding people just normally every day or every week or every month?
You mean new adoption angels?
Yes, ma'am.
We've had a lot recently in the last couple of months sign up, which is why we've tripled our list of adoption angels, which is very exciting. And the majority of them are very active. So we are serving more adoptees than we ever have before. We currently have about 40 cases going, and that's a low estimate.
Okay, so Eowyn, but check your email real quick, or I'll check mine real quick. Eowyn says she has shared the slideshow with us so that we can see her. Let me see if there we go. I have that. It's do you want me to send you the link real quick, Emma, and see you, or do you want me to try and do it, or
it might be easier if you bring it up.
Okay.
Because I'm working on 2 different computers here watching the live chat.
All right. I'm going to slide this over. And
so one of the questions that was asked in the chat is, do we work with non-adoptees who are looking for an unknown parent? And sure, it doesn't have to be an adoptee. There's a lot of scenarios where people don't know their birth parent, but they weren't adopted. And so, yes, we do help people in those situations.
I have never done a slideshow from, how do you bring up the actual slideshow?
Well, we could just look at it like that.
Yeah, we could.
Better than nothing.
I tell you what, doing these live casts has been a real experiment in patience. I'll tell you that. Arrange tools, add-ons, file, open. No, we're already open.
Well, we can see the slides.
Alrighty then. How about this? No. There should be a button that says Start Slideshow. All right, so here it is. And if she's put some speaker notes in here, it'll be great. We'll all get to see it, and I'll be able to tell you. Adoption Angels helping adoptees find their roots. So what is an adoption angel? And I think that Emma has already covered that for us.
Mm-hmm.
And adoption angels helping adoptees find their roots. There are 2 types of adoption angels. Emma, do you want to talk about the slides as I pull them up? Because I'm not a part of the project, and maybe you have a better handle on it.
Right, and this is what I already talked about, that we just recently split into 2 types of adoption angels. So if you don't know anything about family finding, how to search for biological family, but you want to help adoptees, then you might want to become a mentor angel who will help answer questions.
And are mentor angels actually a part of the Mentors Project on WikiTree?
No, it's part of the Adoption Angel Project.
Okay.
Okay, this is our mission statement, which is new and expanded, and the things that we do. Starting from helping them to set up their profile, helping them find the information they need in order to start a search, because sometimes adoptees don't know that they need certain things, certain information to get started. We help them build their tree as we search for their biological family. And I already mentioned that we'll help look farther back in the tree in other adoption scenarios. More and more, we're using DNA to search for family because it's more efficient and more effective. I know you're familiar with that, Mags.
I am very familiar with that.
We do not work on searching for children or doing searches for children under the age of 18. So anyone who applies needs to be over the age of 18. We don't pressure an adoptee to make contact with their biological family. Sometimes they just want to know. They don't necessarily want to make the contact, and that's just fine. We don't work with someone on behalf of someone else unless there's permission from the adoptee. We don't charge. This is a volunteer project. It's completely run by volunteers, and anyone can apply. And again, we don't make contact with the biological family of the searcher. That's up to the adoptee themselves.
And there's an asterisk there, which means that Eowyn had an extra point.
There's some exceptions to that. Sometimes, like I did a case through WikiTree, and I was friends with the person, and so I did make contact. It was a rare situation for me. So that has some exceptions. Privacy.
And this may be the asterisk.
It may be, I don't know. Privacy is very, very, very important part of what we do. We want the adoptees to understand that everything they do with us is 100% private and confidential. We don't share it with other people on WikiTree. We don't share it with people around us. We keep it to ourselves, and we respect their wishes. We have some adoptees who are, you know, they're full disclosure. They'll give you any information you possibly could want in order to try to solve their case, and there are others who are more private, and we are willing to work with wherever they are. Other ways to participate. Yes, and this is something the mentors can help with too, helping answer adoption-related questions on G2G. I've been seeing more and more questions in G2G come up about adoption and how do I figure this out? What do I do in this situation? We have a new Google group that was just started just for adoptees to talk to each other, to answer questions, to help each other as they are working on their search. And this is open to anybody on WikiTree who's an adoptee or looking for biological family. We are always looking to expand our help pages and our resource pages, because this information gets outdated very quickly, and anybody who can help update, for instance, which states are open adoption states, that keeps changing as laws are passed, and we would love people who know these things to help update those resource pages. We are always having questions about DNA. People know that DNA will help them solve their case, but they don't know how to do it. And so anyone with DNA knowledge could certainly help with that. And earning our wings. The first time that you find biological family on behalf of the adoptee, you get to earn this cool badge, which I got this week.
Did you get to smoke a cigar?
Why would I smoke a cigar?
Well, you know, when a baby's born, you smoke a cigar.
That's disgusting. No, but I got to cheer and cry a little bit. I definitely cried a little bit when I found out that she had made the connection, and pat myself on the back at the same time because I was right.
Well, yeah, and Emma and I talk occasionally outside of what's going on in WikiTree, and she's been telling me about this particular adoption case she was working on, and I'm so excited that you're enjoying.
This case isn't the one I've been telling you about, though.
Oh, okay. So the other cases. Anyway, it's nice. I'm glad you earned your wings.
Yes, I'm very excited because it's good stuff all around. How do we get connected? There is a form, and just recently that form got put under the Help tab. So if you go to WikiTree Help tab, at the very top, it will say, I'm bringing it up for myself. It's the very first item under Help tab. You click on Adoption Angels, and that takes you directly to the application. So whoever did that for WikiTree, thank you.
To the, you mean to the assistance request form? You said takes you directly to the application?
Yes, it takes you directly to the application.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, this is brand new. It just, I don't know when it happened, but it was very recent. You can apply as an adoptee. You can apply as a birth parent looking for a birth child. You can apply as somebody who is looking, like I said, in a situation where your parents were adopted, they've passed away, but you're looking for your grandparents, and you don't know how to get there because the parent was adopted, for instance.
Right.
So all of those can apply through the application form. Okay, this is brand new. Used to be when the applications came in, it was kind of hit and miss as to who was contacted. Now, every single application that comes in, Eowyn or I will immediately respond with a letter that has links, all sorts of links, and things that we ask the adoptee to do ahead of time that will help make their search better, easier, faster if they have these things in place. Once they have those things in place, they'll contact us again and say, hey, I'm ready. And they go to the top of the waiting list for the adoption angels.
Cool. Yep.
Here's the things we ask them to do. Signing up for adoption registries, looking for their non-identification document from the agency or state. This is not a birth record, but it's information that's given at the time of the adoption that may tell a little bit about their birth parent or parents. Sometimes they are able to actually order their original birth certificate depending on the state or country. If they haven't taken a DNA test, we strongly urge them to, because as I said, it will make a more effective, efficient search. And then if they have taken a DNA test, we ask them to put it on GEDmatch and other places to spread that DNA into a wider pool.
Just to interject or to ask something in here, have you had anybody ask questions about the GDPR, which is the new privacy rules that are going into effect in May, about sharing information for adoptees?
Adoptees?
Yes.
No, we haven't had anybody ask anything.
Oh, cool.
And I haven't heard about this specifically for adoptees, so I'm interested to hear about it.
It would be specific to anybody, really. Sharing any kind of information online. You have to have opt-out possibilities. Anyway, so you haven't, and that's great.
But now you have me curious.
I'll send you something on it when we get done the live.
So once the adoptee has gone as far as they can with all those things, they contact me. I'm now the project coordinator. And we will either match them with a mentor to help them finish up the steps, or we will put them on the list for a family finder if they are ready to go.
Cool.
And this is our new spreadsheet that we have, where we monitor where each adoptee is in the process. So we are tracking them all now, so no one falls through the cracks. And through this spreadsheet, adoption angels can look at everybody who's available and see who they feel they can best help. Yes, that's what I just said. 3 steps. Okay, so here's the answer to our question. Find the box. Oh, it didn't say what the 3 steps were. Okay, apparently there's 3 steps. So go to the G2G post and say, I want to be an adoption angel and get the badge. We use an adoption angels Google group, which is linked there in the green box. And so they'll want to definitely sign up and ask to join that, because that's where all of our applications come through. I don't know what the 3rd step is.
I guess get started.
I guess, I don't know. Oh, it's probably add the tag. You need to put adoption angels as your followed tag.
All right. Well,
that's what it is.
Thank you for that, Eowyn.
I feel complimented.
Eowyn has been sending me notes. She still cannot get in.
That's crazy.
I'm so glad she shared the slideshow with us so that we could get it posted and so that you could go through it. Do we have any questions in the chat?
No, but I think we just recruited a new adoption angel. I'm very excited about that because she's
Biggity dog.
She's in the UK, and we can always use more non-US adoption angels because we're getting more and more adoptees from outside the US.
All right. In your experience with the way that I know that when the Adoption Angels project first started, it was a learning process, and it's been a learning process all the way through. Everything, I mean, every single step that the Adoption Angels project has made has been a step towards what it is now. And just from my view, it's pretty nice. It's pretty incredible. It's great that we have a lot of people. And one of the things about getting it out there and getting it known, we have more international people stepping in to do work like this, who you were just talking about from the UK. I know that we just had some more people added, and one of them speaks 5 languages. So what would you say to new adoption angel applicants about being able to communicate with people and communicating well?
About whether they're worried about that?
Yeah.
Well, I say apply anyway, because like I said, we had someone from a European country apply in November, and we were all worried because no one could speak to this person, felt concerned they couldn't help them, didn't know the culture and background. And then boom, a month or two later, I speak to someone who had actually applied a couple years ago, solved his own case. And I said, hey, would you become an adoption angel? Because you speak 5 languages. And he said, yes, I'd love to. And guess what? One of the languages he speaks is the one we needed.
All right.
So you never know who's going to come on board away that can help.
Yeah. I also wonder about the adoption angels, and if there's any kind of, I know that working with adoptees is very sensitive and very psychologically taxing. Is there a process or any kind of information that you work with the adoption angels themselves for working with people who are working with highly emotionally charged issues?
We haven't had a lot of that come up. We've had some new issues come up lately, and we do talk about it. I think as adoption angels, we all have kind of a mindset that nothing is shocking to us. No scenario will surprise us. I don't know, maybe we should start out with the adoptee, letting them know that maybe they need to have that mindset as well. I don't know that whether we do that or not. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Right. So we're not the psychologist who's there to help them get by. But I'm sure that just being there, and since they are adoption angels, they're something of a sounding board.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just thinking of my own work. I don't start out by saying, you may not get what you expect. The results of who your family is may not be what you hope for, and you may need to have that mindset. I don't start out that way. I don't know whether I should or not. But that happens a lot.
Yeah. And working with people who are so emotionally charged and being geared up for that kind of thing is kind of hard sometimes. I'm wondering if the adoption angels, now that you've moved to this new application, which I think is great, I know that the privacy, I mean, I'm just thinking about all the different ways that the adoption angels can help people. And I'm I mean, do you guys suggest to people to do social media campaigns or to publish their information in any way, shape, or form?
No.
None.
And I've seen people blog, adoptees blog, that you need to splatter yourself all over social media, and that's the best way to find your birth family. And personally, I think that sets you up for you really completely lose your privacy by doing that. That's I don't think that's something any of the adoption angels do with the people they work with. And honestly, the way we work, we don't need to do that, especially when you're working with DNA. Angels do with the people they work with. And honestly, the way we work, we don't need to. I think you're hearing me twice. Especially when you're working with DNA.
What about time frames? How long does it take for an adoption angel to actually do the work?
Okay, the case that I just got, I'm echoing on your end, Mags. The case that I just got the angel wings for, I solved in 4 hours.
What?
Yeah. That rarely happens, but it took months to get the final piece in place to prove that I was right. I have another case I've been working on for a year. You have a case you've been working on longer, don't you?
Oh yeah, I've been working on Betty Jean for, I guess, 2 years now, and last week we were like this close to identifying her mother. Found an adoption, found a DNA connection on WikiTree, and the WikiTreeer submitted his stuff to GEDmatch and blew the whole research out of the water, having to start over from not from the beginning, but I mean, we know the family group she's going to be in. It's just identifying which one of the many children in that family group is going to be it. So yeah, so 2 years.
You're close.
Very close.
So here's a good question from Robin, and she says, if a child wants to look for a parent's biological parents, but the parents don't want the child to do that, do they have to wait till the parent passes away? We cannot do the search if the parent doesn't want it and
right.
they're living.
You have to have the adoptee's permission.
Yes, we have to have the adoptee's permission. Doesn't mean she can't do the search herself, but we can't help assist with that.
That's an interesting point. And what happens, what kind of advice do you give to somebody who, I just heard of an adoption case recently where the mother and the father met once, were together once. The mother didn't tell the father about the child, and specifically didn't. And then here in later years, the child has gone back and identified her father, contacted him. He feels bamboozled. He feels that he shouldn't have any contact with this child because basically he was tricked into having sex with this woman because she wanted a sperm donor.
That's his take on the situation.
That is his take on the situation.
Yeah.
And he feels he has rights, you know, that he did not consent to having a child with this woman.
Right. Yeah, and that's a tough situation. And what do you tell the adoptee? I mean, she cannot force the connection.
Doesn't want her to force the connection. Doesn't want her to add him as her father on anything that's public.
And can he legally stop her from doing that?
Yeah, I have no idea. It's an interesting case.
Yeah, and it's not the first time I've heard something similar. Or the siblings. I often hear where the siblings, that show up that nobody knew about will try to block the adoptee from showing that parent on their family tree, for instance.
Right. And what about her rights? Or the adoptee's rights?
Exactly. I mean, that is her biological parent.
Yeah. And to take that one step further, what are the rights of their siblings? It would be interesting. I don't know if any of these kind of cases have ever gone to court, and if they are those even public? Because that's the whole issue, is the publicity.
Yeah. I personally have had no cases where it's gone to that level of
most
dissension.
of the cases that I've worked, the families have been happy to find each other.
Yeah.
I've had one where there was a living brother, and they don't jihad at all. They're like on different spectrums politically, different spectrums socially, and they're just like, yeah, that's my sister. I don't know her. The DNA matches, but no, I don't know her.
I find in the majority of the cases, the adoptee is not looking as much for a connection, but they just want to know their history. They want to know their family tree. They want to know where they're from. And that is probably the bigger piece of the picture for them. The rest would just be icing on the cake if it all went extremely well.
It would be. Well, Emma, I think you have stepped into the little elf's shoes. I know they're very tiny to fit into. You fit into the little elf's shoes very well, and thank you for stepping in for her taking this over. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I love the Adoption Angels. It's an incredibly rewarding project, and we would love to add more and more people to the project, because that just means more adoptees getting help.
Yes. Thank you very much. Thank you all for your time. Have a good Saturday. See you later.
See ya.